and the generation of new foreign currency for the country. Acting President Delcy Rodriguez led a work meeting with the mining and basic industry sector to evaluate strategies to increase the production of gold and other strategic minerals. Rodriguez emphasized that mining has become a fundamental element in the growth of the gross domestic product, ranking as the second engine of the economy after hydrocarbons. The acting president also assured that the nation's mineral wealth is intended exclusively to guarantee the well-being of the Venezuelan people and to protect national sovereignty from external interests. Also, the acting president of Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez, presented the balance sheet of growth in gold production and explained how these resources are allocated to the social and sports development of the nation.
I
would like to share some figures regarding gold production in 2025. We produced 9.5 tons of gold, with the private sector growing by 34.8% and the public sector by 81%. What are we looking for now? To increase gold production by 2026 throughout our own efforts. What covers gold production in our country? Well, it maintains foreign service and allows for the financing of our athletes to attend international competitions and fulfill their international agenda on the way to the Olympics. It is gold for the development of our people, for social development, for economic development, and it is the use and employment of our resources for the happiness of the Venezuelan people.
And Colombia will hold its presidential elections in 4 months, and according to the latest polls, the left-wing candidate Iván Cepeda is in the lead, followed by the far-right candidate. Let's look at the details with our colleague Hernán Tobar.
In May,
Colombians will go to the polls to elect their next president. The most recent poll published by private media shows a leading voting intentions for Senator Iván Cepeda, the left-wing candidate, with 38%, followed by the right-wing candidate Abelardo de la Espriella with 22%.
A large percentage of the vote is around Iván Cepeda, who is leading in the polls and has the best chance in almost all second-round scenarios, versus a poll of an extreme right outsider, the type of candidate that has been promoted from the sector, let's call it this new populist right in Latin America, which is very quick to respond, not very favorable to the rule of law and compliance with certain rules, especially the control of powers, and are looking to recreate the same figure. All of the candidates resemble Bukele, all of the candidates resemble Milei. If they are not tigers, they are lions or any other large cat that is unoccupied at the time to create the candidate image.
The
voting projection that currently favors the left-wing candidate and the governing party, the historical pact, responds, according to analysts, to the fact that a large part of Colombian society continues to support a policy of consolidation and deepening of social transformations neglected by previous right-wing governments.
The truth is that the country is polarized. Iván Cepeda's extremely high approval ratings demonstrate the success of the government of change and that the majority of Colombians continue to support the proposal for profound change in Colombia. And the rise of Abelardo de la Espriella as the candidate of the far right also reveals that there is a sector of society that is deeply retractory to these changes, which sees in the figure of Álvaro Uribe and in this case Abelardo someone who can express their fears and doubts about in the face of the changes that are taking place.
Warnings
on the subject once again focus on the origin of the service themselves, as the strategy of using this type of tool to serve the ideological agendas of the ruling classes, which may be putting pressure on their electorate in this context, is not new.
Polling companies know that they are instruments for shaping ideology and opinion, and in that sense they must also follow an agenda. The question to ask is how it suits the far right for Iván Cepeda to appear with such a large lead in the polls. In other words, these polls should be read not only as something informative, but also as a reflection of the political intentions of the sectors that dominate these polling companies and that are interested in implementing a certain framework of interpretation.
This is the outlook for the upcoming presidential elections in Colombia, with the first round scheduled for Sunday, May 31st of this year.
Hernán Darío Tobar Gaitán, teleSUR, Bogotá, Colombia.
In Guatemala, the Congress ratified the state of emergency declared by President Bernardo Arevalo with 149 votes in favor for a period of 30 days. The measure responds to an offensive by criminal gangs which led to the death of at least 10 police officers and riots in various prisons across the country. In this sense, the legislature introduced key amendments to guarantee normality for citizens, ensuring that no curfew or restrictions on movement will be implemented. This decision allows productive and commercial activities to continue without interruption. According to the government, the measures restore the legal carrying of weapons, authorize military intervention, and in specific cases permit detentions without a warrant, subject to subsequent control by the relevant authorities. And wildfires continue burning through the center-south region of Chile, with 20 people dead and over 7,000 affected, leaving at least 35,000 hectares of forest burned in the provinces of Biobío and Ñuble. Most of the victims are concentrated in the Biobío region, particularly in Penco and Lirquén, where the destruction of homes and businesses has left a profound social impact. According to the Secretary of State, there are 573 people sheltered in 19 refuges so far. In this context, emergency services are still combating 31 active fires, but stated that the mobilization of resources is complicated by the simultaneity of outbreaks in several regions. Rescue teams continue working in extreme conditions to protect communities that remain under threat. China has urged the U.S. to stop using the narrative of a China threat as a pretext to justify its actions over Greenland, insisting that international law based on the UN Charter must be upheld. Our correspondent in Beijing, Bruno Falsi, has the details.
Greetings, comrades. I am in Beijing now to inform you this time that China condemns what it considers United States interference in other countries, promoting the law of the jungle and disrespecting the United Nations charters, following the invasion and bombing of Venezuela and the kidnapping of the President Nicolás Maduro and his wife. Washington is now seeking to seize Greenland under the pretext of containing a supposed Chinese threat. Beijing maintains that these actions violate international law, infringe upon each nation's freedom to choose with who they maintain relations, and threaten the stability of the Arctic, a strategic region for the international community. Let's look now to the words of the Speaker of the Chinese government.
China
has stated its position on Greenland on multiple occasions. International law, underpinned by the purposes and principles of the UN Charter, is the foundation of the current international order and must be respected. We urge the United States to stop using the so-called China threat as a pretext to seek selfish benefits.
Along the same lines, the spokesperson Mao Ning affirmed that the rights of all countries to act in the Arctic must be respected, and emphasized that the region concerns the international community and that China activities there aim for peace, stability, and sustainable development. She also warned that the United States should not use other countries as a pretext for its own selfish interests, reaffirming the call for multilateralism and respect for the United Nations Charter. From here, from Beijing, the capital of China, we go back with you in the studios in La Habana, Cuba.
And in Brazil, the second day of the national meeting of the Landless Rural Workers Movement MST is underway with debates on the organization's political strategy in the fields of education and agroecology. The event also addresses issues related to cooperation, agro-industrialization at the national level, the role of capital in agriculture, and the work of the movement as a force. The meeting will be attended by more than 3,000 activists from all regions of Brazil, and Brazilian President Luiz Inácio da Silva is expected to be present on the closing day. This activity seeks to strengthen the strategic plan of the movement of rural workers and the struggle for land, the construction of popular agrarian reform, and the accumulation of forces towards socialism. And on Tuesday, Cuba received 30,000 tons of rice from China as solidarity aid intended to strengthen food security for the Cuban people. Through the social media, Cuba's Foreign Minister Bruno Rodriguez wrote, "We thank the party, the government, and the people of China for sending a first batch of a donation of 30,000 tons of rice to support efforts to complete the basic food basket received by the people of Cuba. This donation is a sign of the close brotherhood and historical ties of friendship and solidarity that unite both nations. And during the opening session of its 14th National Congress, the Communist Party of Vietnam presented the evaluation report on the leadership and management work of the CPV Central Committee during its 13th term. Party officials explained that the 13th Congress maintained a firm, cohesive and united stance, strictly adhering to the principles and guidelines of the party. As a result, the country was able to overcome multiple difficulties and challenges, essentially fulfilling the objective and tasks set forth. Coordination between the state, the Vietnam Fatherland Front and socio-political organizations was also strengthened, enabling the mobilization of the joint strength of the entire political system, reinforcing national unity. Looking ahead, officials reaffirmed their commitment to intensify the building and strengthening of the party, to renew leadership and governance methods, and to promote decentralization accompanied by effective supervision and control of power. Our correspondent in China, Bruno Falsi, interviewed the director of the Center for Latin American Studies of the Shanghai Academy of Social Sciences, Professor Niu Haibin. The academic referred to the role of the international community and Latin American countries in guaranteeing the release of Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro and protecting Venezuela's sovereignty.
The international community is working on that goal to free President Maduro, and you can see a lot of voices, this kind of concerns are were expressed by Russia, China, and also Latin American countries, as well as Spain from Europe. I think this is very important for the world. We cannot keep silence on this issue. Even the United States has the final decision based on their hegemonic power, but the international community should work for that, to call for justice for our friend in Venezuela. And I think especially the countries from Latin America also should work more on this, because they are neighbors, the nearest neighbors of the United States. They have to make their voice louder, to express, to safeguard.
The 14th National Congress of the Communist Party of Vietnam kicked off on Tuesday with the organization presenting an evaluation report on its leadership and management during the 13th term. With more on the event, our collaborator from Vietnam today, Han Minh.
14th National Party Congress officially opened this morning. Now in the main conference hall, people are discussing the key points. Now the opening speech was delivered by State President Lương Cường, while Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính presided over the meeting. In the opening speech, State President Lương Cường reiterated the special context of the 14th National Party Congress, which took place in a time of global uncertainties and the rapid development of technologies such as artificial intelligence and quantum tech. He also sent congratulatory message to 1,586 delegates representing 5.6 million party members nationwide to participate in the 14th National Party Congress. Now, the opening speech was followed by the speech of Party General Secretary Tô Lâm, who in his speech reiterated the Congress goals, which is to discuss and to adopt several major reports, including the political report, a report reviewing the theoretical and practical issues of the socialist-oriented renewal đổi mới over 40 years, a report reviewing 15 years of implementation of party statutes and proposed amendments, a report on the assessment of the directions and leadership of the 13 parties Central Committee. He also mentioned the Congress aim to finalize the personnel for the 14th Party's Central Committee of the 14th National Party Congress. And he mentioned that about 5 million individuals submitted about 14 million opinions, and they are very valuable in the discussion and adoption of key documents which are being discussed in the main conference hall. Party General Secretary Tô Lâm appraised the spirit the confidence and aspirations of the people of Vietnam leading up to the 100th anniversary of party's leadership 1930-2030 and also 100 years of the nation's establishment 1945-2045. And Vietnam Today will continue to bring you the latest updates of the 14th National Party Congress in our bulletins. Khánh Minh reporting for Vietnam Today. Now back to the studio.
In the United States, massive protests reveal strong social rejection of President Donald Trump 1 year into his administration. Ahead of the first year of Trump's second term, several organizations are mobilizing this Tuesday to express their disagreement with his government policies. As of Monday afternoon, at least 800 events called Free America had been organized, with more than 38,000 confirmed attendances and a call to boycott schools, businesses, and workplaces at 2 p.m. local time. Among the main reasons for the protests are policies against the migrant population and abuses of authority by ICE agents. And regarding Donald Trump's administration, nearly 60% of U.S. citizens rate his first year in his second term as a failure. A media study reports that President Trump's return to the White House reveals that he is focusing on the wrong priorities and deviating from the goal of improving the cost of living in the country. The report notes that more than 55% of those surveyed say that Trump's policies have worsened the country's economic situation. U.S. citizens, like some Republican Party leaders, claim that the head of state is not doing enough to try to reduce the price of everyday consumer goods. In Venezuela, the government moves forward with a plan to consolidate the growth of its mining industry, a sector considered key to economic recovery and the generation of new foreign currency for the country. Acting President teleSUR Rodriguez led a work meeting with the mining Rodriguez emphasized that mining has become a fundamental element in the growth of the gross domestic product, ranking as the second engine of the economy after hydrocarbons. The acting president also assured that the nation's mineral wealth is intended exclusively to guarantee the well-being of the Venezuelan people and to protect national sovereignty from external interests. Also, the acting president of Venezuela